Hey y'all, how's it going? So today I'm going to be talking about the book Mother of Learning by Domagoj Keo, right? So the first part of this talk, or this review, is going to be for people who haven't read the book, who are interested. So I'll say, a review of the book without spoilers. And then the second part, which I'll link in the description below, is going to be for people who have already read the book and you kind of want to talk about what you thought of the book after reading all of it, right? So, some notes right here. So the series is about 800,000 words, right? Average novel is about 100K, so it's about 8 novels, or it's like 4 big fantasy books, right? A big fantasy book is like 200K words. Just so you know what you're getting yourself into. It may seem long, but it is very addicting. It's very good, right? Alright, so at the core of it, this is an adventure and coming-of-age story. So if you're about that and you like magic, you should definitely check this out, okay? So as far as the magic goes, the magic system is between like soft or hard magic, right? Soft magic being like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, hard magic being like Avatar: Last Airbender, or like a game, like if you like Final Fantasy, you have stats and stuff. This is on the harder side. If you guys like lit RPG genres, will write, Cradle, or magic systems and a lot of isekai anime, you will enjoy the magic that's presented in this book. Okay, so like I said earlier, if you are not sure you want to commit 800,000 words worth of time, I would just read it for a couple hours. Best part is, right, it's all free online. Just go to fictionpress.com, or you can just Google like read Mother of Learning online. There's some other sites that are hosting it as well. Shout out to Domagoj for making this totally public for anyone to read on the internet. It is absolutely amazing. There's no excuse not to read it. But like I was saying, just give it a couple hours and then you'll hit like the first major event / plot point that'll kind of give you an idea for what to expect for the rest of the book. So I think that's a really good measure of whether or not you like it. Alright, that's it, and now we will be moving on into the second part of this review, right? And the second part of this review is going to be talking about thoughts I had on the book overall, and hopefully some people that are watching, it's going to be, cool to see someone else's insights on what they thought after finishing. So, the book just finished, Groundhog Day, haha, about a week ago. Chapters 1 and 3 to 106, finished it off. And 1 to 102, I read all those in the span of like 2-3 days. I was just like, oh my god, I was like addicted, just like flip my phone. Sometime like late last November, I think. So it's been like a solid 2 months. So I don't remember everything from the beginning part like super well, but I think well enough to talk about it right now. So let's get into it. Oh, and forgive me if I butcher any names. I did not listen to the audio version. I think like Quatok Ickle, the Lich, I don't know, man. It's the only one that I can't really pronounce. Everything else is pretty easy. So, I remember starting and I was like, okay, whatever, like, it's cool. I didn't really get my interest piqued until Quatok Ickle used that soul magic and he like pulled Zorian in a time loop. That's when I was like, okay, here we go. Snowball's rolling, right? Then, I was enjoying it, I was going through it, I was like so interested in all the possibilities that were available, given that like, every time he died, he was like, oh, come back to life. And now you're thinking like, okay, how is he going to exploit this? Which is exactly what he does. This is Zorian, right? I was kind of mad at Zorian for just not telling Zack for so long that he was a time traveler, which I guess kind of makes sense considering, considering his personality. Like, at the beginning, he's kind of an asshole. He is, like, young. He, like, has his older brother who's really, like, a genius at everything, and then he has another older brother who is, like, really socially good, but just kind of shits on him at school too, and then he's just sitting here grinding. So I can sort of understand his personality, but that's one of the great points of the book as well. You can see Zorian's character development from like start all the way to finish, throughout the decade plus or whatever that he spends in the time loop, and all the relationships that he makes. Especially with Tyven, I think that is a very interesting like dynamic they have going on, because it's like she was originally here, but then like he surpassed her, and then he had to like realize like the dynamics that he treated other people with versus like how he used to be treated. So he gave him a lot more perspective, I think. So I think that especially with that growth thing, Domogashi was out of his way to make sure that you know that like Zorian's growing. He'll throw in a comment like, "Oh, like in the past I would have done this, but now after the time loop, I am acting not like an asshole." So a couple of statements, like obvious statements like that, are thrown out to make sure you know that like Zorian's growing, and I really think that that's like an important reason why the novel was good as well. Love coming of age, love stories of people growing. The magic system, very cool. Like, the time loop system was so well thought out, first of all, but secondly, the magic itself, like space magic, the simulacrum one that they used to travel with the dimensional one was so good. Whenever they had to go to that continent to meet Damien, right? That was so well done, I thought. Kind of funny as well. And at the beginning, they kind of explore it more. And we'll kind of talk about like the beginning, middle, and end in a bit. The mind magic, very cool. Like he slowly has to like subvert all these different RNA webs, and people are like, how is he so good? That I thought was very well done. And I think that innately, like mind and soul magic are so like OP, and they handle that very well in the book with the mind blank and like subsequently like how to subvert it, you know. That whole first... Here, I'll get to that in a second. Let's look at the macro. Let's take a step back, look at the macro. The entire setup of the book, very well done. Obviously, despite the fact that it was released weekly, or whatever, like, not all at once, it was definitely thought out before it was written. Like, the details are very well done. At the beginning, I'm like, there's all these random characters that are introduced, and they all become relevant in some way or another throughout Zorian's, you know, adventures in time travel and like time looping. Even his brother, that rocky relationship with Damien, evolves into something greater versus something very small. Like his older, like the brother right before that being an asshole to that girl, and that kind of triggers like this whole other chain of events. Like the whole ripple butterfly effect, very well done, and all the characters are drawn in appropriately. The mind magic, again, was very cool. And the research that they're hinting at throughout the book, that's really well done, and it ties it all together at the end with the power of the Soul Caesar flower. Very good. I think that it wasn't too obvious how everything was going to be completed, but you knew there was something going on. There was a lot of foreshadowing. Let's see, the pacing. Pacing was, I would say, if I were writing this, to be like probably the hardest thing, because you're doing the same thing every day. Like, I get Zorian does different stuff, but like, he was in that like cold area looking for Alanic and figuring out that little town for like a long ass time, right? And Domogashi managed to keep you engaged the entire time because he was doing different things, and he has these concrete goals that he's working towards each time. And though you're revisiting the same situations over and over and over, it never feels stagnant. You're like curious to find out what happens, right? Okay. Now let's go to let's separate it by arc, right? First arc, it's like, let's figure this shit out. What's going on? Zorian's making sense of the time loop, and this is kind of my favorite arc because you really, like, it really allows you to understand, like, the mechanics of the time loop. I love all the training scenes. I'm like a big fan of, like, Lit RPG, Wuxia, kind of just training montages in general, right? And that kind of reminded me of that. Second arc, right? They figured all this shit out. They are like, oh, Zack's the controller, they've gone in the cube, and they're like, we know Big Baddie is Panazeth, right? And now, how do we get out? And it's like this goose hunt for the artifacts so that he can escape, and then once they find out that ain't gonna work, it is a matter of researching it but banding together. Like, that was the coolest thing. My first arc was definitely the favorite, because I'm a big fan of that genre slash, like, you know, the stuff that was going down. Second one was great because you got to see all this magic and powers and stuff that Zack and Zorian had learned and put it into effect. You're like, oh, it's like they're Gary Stews by now, basically, right? They're super strong, everyone's underestimating them, but it's just so satisfying to see everyone's reactions and how they go about just manipulating the magic in their world and maneuvering through these next to impossible situations to get these artifacts, right? And it's incredible. Very satisfying. Third arc, the shortest, which makes sense because, like, it felt a little quick for me, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like one loop, right? It's like, there's no redos. So naturally, like, it feels shorter than all the other ones because the actual time that's passed is shorter. So I guess it makes sense. But it's a culmination of everyone's efforts, right? Jornak is revealed, red robe, and you're like, oh, that, I was actually not expecting that. That was very cool. That whole setup from start to finish with the mystery of red robe was very, I think it was a good villain, very good villain. Especially like his like deeper relationship with Zack, I think made him a lot more of a sympathetic character, kind of. Like when he first figured out a way to like circumvent the time loop. So, we got to see how everything was done. We got to see it from Zack's point of view at first, and then you're like, wait, what's going on? Right? With the big fight, that was cool. Seeing Ogange versus the Angel versus Damien and Zim, everyone just going all out. So, excuse me. And then finally, like the final confrontation, and then you get to see, yo, what's up? So I think my video cut off, but we're right at the end, so no worries. So, other notes, I loved how Domagoj explored the world, especially the skeletons on the pirate ship. That was hilarious, right? And when you have that big of a world and you have the ability to time travel and just discover stuff, it's just like, to me, it's just like Skyrim, but you're like max level. But you're so interested in seeing what these characters are going to do because they're like trying to find different spells and ways to find these divine artifacts, right? Like they explored a desert to go into that ziggurat, and then the tropical climate with Damien. But my concluding thoughts are that it's very strong world building, great magic. The characters are well done. The whole time loop Groundhog Day mechanic was amazing. I think that was probably like the best part of the book. So we see them separately. Like we see time travel a lot, and we see like training a lot. We even like in Dragon Ball Z, like the time dilation chamber, stuff like that. But the way that this is done, I think is very unique, very powerful. And the restrictions are what make it so interesting. The only thing I can think of that comes close to this is probably All You Need Is Kill, the manga, or Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, which is like the movie adaptation, so it's like the same thing, right? That's probably the closest thing I can think of to this. But this is just in a totally different setting, and Domagoj just takes it to the extreme. Like, as far as you can go with this mechanism, right? And he ties it into, like, you know, Panazet's, you know, diabolical plan, and how the angels have a plan to foil Panazet's plan, right? All in all, though, great book. Go check it out. Shout out to Domagoj for making this all free online. And definitely go support him on Patreon to see his next works. And if you are looking to talk more about this, just comment below. Or you can go to the Mother of Learning subreddit, which is r/nobody103, I believe. Alright, so that will conclude this talk. Thanks for watching the video, y'all.